sir. Thank you.
Comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Please describe yourself.
Yes, sir. So my name is Nitish Rajura, and I'm born and brought up in Delhi. I did my schooling from Faith Academy and my graduation from Shriram College of Commerce in BCom Honors. And post that, I'm currently doing my masters from Hindu College. And apart from that, I have participated in many leadership activities during my college time. That was in the Students' Union of Shriram College of Commerce, as well as the Students' Union of Delhi University. So I have gained leadership qualities and certain other qualities in the meanwhile that could be beneficial for my role as a civil servant.
Please be comfortable. If you want to remove this mask, that's up to you.
Can I remove it, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Seeing your cap, you mentioned that you presented a case study on women empowerment.
Yes, sir.
Can you just tell us about the gist of that study?
Yes, sir. So the case study was basically about political participation of the women, especially at the grassroots levels. So my topic was how the Panchayati Raj, how the women in the Panchayati Raj has helped in the development of the village. So basically, the women have contributed in basic grassroots level activities like sanitation, water, roads. And if we compare them with the earlier panchayats, then women have contributed more in these fields, which are directly affecting the villagers. So that was the topic of my presentation.
Okay. That's right.
Thank you, sir.
And one more question from my side. You said that you have interest in Indian mythology.
Yes, sir.
So, which is the most interesting character of your choice, which appeals to you most?
Yes, sir.
And why?
Yes, sir. Sir, recently I read a book, Sita, by Amish Tripathi, and from that book I was fascinated by the character of Sita. The particular characterization of Sita was different from the Valmiki Ramayana that that we read most commonly. That is based on Adbhut Ramayana, which was also written by Valmiki ji, and it portrays Sita as a warrior of Mithila, and Sita plays the center role in the whole Ramayana, and it was Sita who killed Ravan. So that picturization of Sita as a brave young lady who also administers his kingdom, who also administers other activities of the kingdom. So that role fascinated me, and that was something that I learned about.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So Nitish, I believe that you are interested to work towards women empowerment,
Yes,
right? So as an administrator, what are the steps that you would take to promote women empowerment?
Yes, ma'am, as a district collector, I would ensure that in my district there is participation of women at all the level, especially if the gross enrollment ratio in the primary education is low. I would ensure the participation of girls at the primary level. That could be done by various campaigns at the grassroots to empower women. Secondly, the health aspects of the women, because we are seeing that around 50% of Indian women are anemic and they are malnourished. So I would focus on that aspect also, which would help in overall empowerment of women. So these would be most prior area of concern for me. Apart from that, the situation of women could be different depending on the districts. For example, there could be tribal districts also, in which there could be certain aspects, certain issues which could be relevant for that issue. So I will also address them.
Okay, so you will basically analyze what the local needs are and
Yes,
then you take steps accordingly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you have also been a media president in your college, right? So
Yes,
what
ma'am.
was your role as a media president?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I was the media president of the Delhi University Students' Union, and my role was to communicate the activities of the DUSU and to bring more public reach, public outreach towards those activities. For example, one of the activities that we did was to commemorate the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan on 2nd of October. So my responsibility was to have more participation from all the colleges and to give the information of the activities and the events in the students' union of the particular colleges. So that was the role of the media president of DUSU.
Okay, so basically you were doing the IEC campaigning.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, so follow-up question would be like media, as we know, is the fourth pillar of democracy. So, do you think Indian media today is performing well?
Article 19 of our constitution gives the right to freedom of speech and expression, and it inherently also includes media. And I believe that there are many independent media platforms, both in the digital media as well as social media, and there's also proliferation of many new media outlets. So I believe that in India, the state of media is very good. However, there are some concerns relating to fake media, fake news, and also certain aspects of the news like the paid news. And also there is some concerns related to the model of the news media in India, which is basically financed by some corporate houses. So these are some areas of concern. But overall, if we look at the freedom of speech and expression part of the media, then I believe that the Indian media is doing their role.
Okay, so what would you suggest, like, to improve the autonomy of media?
Yes, ma'am. Firstly, if we look at the basic problem, is the model of the media. That is, they are controlled by certain media houses. So I think that we can have an alternate model whereby the subscribers pay for the free media. That is, the consumers who consume media pay, just like we pay for the newspaper. We could also pay for the digital news as well as the social media. So this could be one model which could ensure independence of the media. Second, related to fake media, fake news aspect, I believe that in that we can have certain regulatory guidelines, regulatory measures like fact check, which could help in controlling the fake news menace.
Okay, good. So talking about media, I would like to know, like today, social media is emerging, right? So how would you use social media as an administrator?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, recently we have seen that social media has been a boon for administration. Like I could recall the example of how people in distress, especially in railways, they just tweet for the railway ministry, and the help reaches out to them. So at the grassroots level, at the district level, I as a district magistrate could use the Twitter handles, the Facebook handles to encourage to promote awareness about certain campaigns of the government. For example, the Swachh Bharat campaign was one such campaign in which social media was widely used by the administrators. So in this manner, we can use digital and social media to promote awareness and also to encourage the participation of the people and to get their own views also. So it would act as a bridge between the people and the administration.
Okay, good. So one last question from my side would be like, why is India doing so well in cricket?
Ma'am, the reasons that I could think of is that India started with the game of cricket almost 100 years back during the British time. And from that period onwards, we developed gradually. And if we talk about the first two World Cups in 1975 and 79, India did not perform very well. But gradually, over a period of time, we were able to nurture good talent. And India has won many World Cups and trophies. So the primary reason that I could think of is the institution of the cricket that percolates to the grassroots. We have a Ranji Trophy, we have many other tournaments like the IPL, which nurtures the talent from the grassroots. And ultimately, we have so much good potential cricketers that could play for India at any day. So I think that is one reason that nurturing of talent in India is very good. That is why the state of cricket is so good in India today.
What about the corporatization of cricket?
Yes, sir, especially the market aspect of cricket, that more and more people are viewing cricket, especially through the medium of television and social media. So it encourages youth to participate in cricket also.
Okay, so Nitish, leading a cue from Madam's question, you said we have an institution that is built up over the years for cricket. But don't you think for the hockey as an sport also we have that institution? Rather, we won certain what you get Olympics gold medal also in hockey. But now, what if you see and if you compare hockey with cricket, so where do we fail in hockey as an sport? Uh, so that hockey now we are not into the race of any medal in Olympic in hockey, or we can expect something some better results. But what is the difference? Like why cricket has become we are the front runner in cricket, but not in hockey. So what do you think the reason behind that? Why there is this thing with hockey?
Yes. So we won many Olympic medals in hockey even before our independence also, but we were not able to sustain that momentum. And one of the reasons that I could think of is also related to the financial aspect of it, because the youngsters who enter cricket, they see that cricket can be pursued as a career because there are financial opportunities in cricket. They get sponsorship from many companies also. But we are lacking that in hockey. Even the basic sponsors also, they are very less in hockey as compared to cricket.
Oh, so who is at fault? Hockey Federation of India or the market players or the nation itself? Where do we fail? I'm not getting where do we fail?
Sir, I think as a system as a whole, we need to improve that. For example, if India won certain medal in hockey, then surely that momentum could be gained back. And also the companies must also give sponsorship to hockey. And also the government can also build up certain institutions, certain training camps, especially dedicated for hockey in rural areas, especially of Haryana and Punjab, where hockey is still a very popular sport. So as a whole, if we can improve on these aspects, then I think that we'll see a brighter future for hockey also.
Right. And now Nitish, you are from Delhi.
Yes, sir.
And you have also held certain positions in union.
Yes, sir.
So I have a question. We are seeing 7 months of farmers' protest against 3 contentious farm laws, but there is no solution in sight. So do you think it is a failure of farm union to establish an effective dialogue with the central government?
So the 3 farm laws that were passed, the farmers had certain reservations about that bill, and I believe that the farmers union were able to negotiate. They were able to negotiate with the government, and the government has also made certain changes to the bills. For example, the government said that at the grassroots level, we'll have the judicial mechanism, which was not there earlier, and we have almost around 10 rounds of talk between the farmer union and the government. So I believe that the government as well as the farmer union are able to negotiate well, and surely it will take some more time, but after a period of time, through negotiations, we can solve this issue.
Okay. And then you have participated in intra-college cricket tournament.
Yes, sir.
There is a recent change in law of LBW using DRS system in cricket. Are you aware of that?
Sorry, sir, I'm not exactly there.
Okay, no issues. Then you also worked with Niti Aayog. Some case study you have presented there.
Yes, sir.
How do you see the progress of Niti Aayog in last 5 years over the planning commission that was earlier? And what are the changes you have observed in Niti Aayog? Is it better from the planning commission, or how you see Niti Aayog as an institution?
So the role of the planning commission is different from the role of Niti Aayog. The planning commission was more focused on the financial aspect, like giving of the grants to the states. But Niti Aayog was specially established as a think tank mechanism for the government of India, and it ensures a mechanism. It ensures that both the states as well as the center. It provides some mechanism for dialogue between the center and the states, and it provides a mechanism of Team India, so that both the center and state can work together. And it has come up with many indices like the Composite Water Management Index, the SDG Index, which is promoting both cooperative federalism as well as competitive federalism. So I believe that Niti Aayog is doing a good job in this respect.
Right. And my last question would be, there are certain terms that we heard in international fora these days, like bloc politics, there is zero-sum game, there is multilateralism. Can you explain these 3 terms with an example?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
So firstly, the bloc politics. It is like a group of countries coming together on some particular issues and having a similar negotiating position. One of the examples of bloc politics could be the European Union politics, especially related to Russia, because they have some reservations about the Russians' encroachment in the Eastern Europe. And so, second term was the zero-sum game. The zero-sum game in international politics is when there's only one beneficiary and it's a win-lose situation. If the gains of one would be the loss of other parties. And an example of zero-sum game could be the game that China is playing in the South China Sea. It encroaches upon the rights of the neighboring countries like Malaysia and Vietnam. So it is a zero-sum game for these countries. And the third term, sorry, I was not here.
It was multilateralism.
Yes. So multilateralism is a very broad term which says about that states, the nation states, must cooperate at the international level, at the multilateral level. And some of the few organizations of multilateralism are the WHO, and in the COVID-19 pandemic, WHO played a major role in navigating through the pandemic. So this is one example of multilateralism.
Where do you put Quad into all 3? Whether it is a multilateralism, or it is a bloc politics, or is it a zero-sum game?
Sir, I believe that there is a Quad is an evolving mechanism, and still it is at a very nascent stage. it is still called a dialogue mechanism between the four countries. So I don't think so that it would be prudent to classify these in these three terms, Quad in these three terms.
Okay,
It is,
you are not considering Quad as a multilateral institution, right?
sir, I think that Quad could be called a plurilateral institution.
Okay, thank you. And over to you, sir.
Yes, Nitish, you've chosen Egmont as your cadre.
Yes, sir.
So, what is your take on cadreization of civil services? Does it lead to jingoism, somehow jingoism creeping into it, or parochialism, narrow outlook, regionalism creeping into it?
So, as the Indian Administrative Service is an all India services,
Right.
so the candidates after selection are given certain cadres. So, I believe that it does not promote jingoism because the allocation of cadres is not based on the particular state that which the candidate belongs to. For example, I belong to Delhi, but I could be given a cadre of Maharashtra, and certainly the problems like jingoism or regionalism does not percolate in all India services as far as I can see, sir.
Allocation of cadre is different. I'm talking about you choosing a particular cadre. Should there be an option? Why to choose cadre? When we call it All India Service, there should be no option, isn't it?
Sir, there could be this could be one option in which the government allocates the cadres without the candidates choosing their
Right.
preference.
Right.
But I believe that the current mechanism also is doing fine because after all the allocation is random and there is no fixed pattern like one particular candidate will be given a particular cadre.
Cadre.
So I believe that this mechanism also works fine.
Right. Somewhere you feel better when you're doing some service to the state you are native to, right? So that also adds a kind of a different sense of motivation comes in when you are working for your own state or something, right? You're posted in your own home state. That gives you a different sense of level of commitment comes in, is it?
Sir, I have a different opinion about that.
Right.
I believe that India is one single country, and my level of dedication should not vary from my home state and other states. I believe that I would perform equally well in every other states of the country,
Right.
be it my home state or any other state.
All right. And while sir was asking this question on farmers' protests, had you been an agricultural secretary, what would have been your take? You must be aware about the file notings.
Yes, sir.
Every secretary is given the chance to put up his note on the file as to what is his take on the reform.
Yes, sir.
What would have been your take? What is your idea of farmers' protest? Where are we going wrong exactly?
Yes, sir. So there are three laws. One is about introduction of the private mandis. Second, about promoting contract farming, and the third was the amendment to Essential Commodities Act. So I believe that the particular reservation of farmers is relating to the private sector encroaching in the farm sector. So to allay the concerns of the farmers, I think that we could provide certain kind of package for the farmers to diversify from crops like rice and wheat and to adopt crops like pulses and cereals, which could also be climate appropriate because we are seeing that the water table in regions like Punjab, Maharashtra, which are not very water sufficient, they are growing crops like sugarcane and rice, which are water consuming. So, as an agriculture secretary, I would give them certain incentives so that they automatically prefer crops like other crops.
But that could be done with the help of MSP as well. We can increase the minimum support price for the crops which we want them to grow rather than going for this big reform. Isn't it?
Yes, but sir, the issue in MSP is the procurement issue. The government declares the MSP for 22 crops, but the procurement is largely for only wheat and rice. And if the government procures other crops also, then it could be financial burden on the state, and also the government does not have any mechanism to distribute those commodities.
But how can we be sure about the fact whether the private sector is actually going to procure those crops?
So if the private sector invests through the contract farming mechanism,
Mhm.
the contract will be done prior to the sowing of the seeds. So I believe that both the farmers as well as the private sector would benefit from such a mechanism.
Okay, okay. And did you go through today's newspaper?
Yes, sir.
Right. You must have read something about small savings schemes issue.
Yes, sir.
What is it about?
Sir, yesterday there was a meeting in which it was decided that the interest rate on the small savings schemes would not be increased. And the particular concerns relating to this aspect is that the Reserve Bank of India's rate cut in the repo rate are not being translated to the banks. And one particular reason for that is that the
Small.
savings rate in the government schemes are very high, and
Right.
the savers are not putting money in the bank. Instead, they are putting in the savings schemes of the government.
Now we'll come to the service preference. You've chosen IAS as your first choice.
Yes.
Why so?
So, when the time I started my preparation, my first the first thing that I looked was for IAS because it is more visible, and also, sir, I wanted to work within the country, so that is why I chose IAS above IFS.
Okay, so IPS will take you abroad or what? You could have chosen IPS as your first preference,
Yes, sir.
right? But why not?
So all the services are good, but we had to give certain preference. So in that order, I chose IAS over IPS. But I believe that I would be able to do justice to all the services in which I would be selected.
Okay, and what about lateral entry? What is your idea of lateral entry? Is it good for our country, the kind of stage that we are at? Have you heard about Fred Riggs theory, prismatic Sala model in public administration, or something like that? Have you heard about it?
No, sir,
No.
not.
Okay, no issues. So the kind of stage which we are at, which India is at, do you think lateral entry is a good option for us to consider, or to follow it full scale?
Sir, in my opinion, lateral entry in a limited scale, for example, the government is currently hiring around 10 or 20 lateral entrants. So I think that it is necessary for the development stage that we are in, especially considering the level of the excellence, the level of expertise that the lateral entrants bring to the administration.
Right.
That is very necessary for a developing country like India. And in the past also, the lateral entrants, especially in the field of the finance and economics, have contributed well to the economy. So India's experience have also been good, and I think it is the demand of the present also.
Right, right. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So it's a question of creative visualization.
Yes, sir.
You are district magistrate of the district, and the district had historical meaning. Say, they had a wonderful scent industry there, but over a period of time it has died down, slowed down. But they have certain intrinsic strengths in that industry. So you are a DM of that this district. So how are you going to revive that industry? So what will be your strategy? How you go about it?
So firstly, I would analyze that what were the reasons for the downfall of that industry, particular industry, and what were those reasons. And after that, I would meet certain people who were previously associated with that industry and get their opinion about how to revive those industries. Because I may not be expert in that field, so I would take their opinion, their knowledge, and after that, I would chart out a plan along with my team to revitalize that sector. And one of the key issues in any industry is finance. So I would ensure that adequate financing is available from proper banking channels, and they do not take the help of money lenders. So this would be first step. Second would be employment of women, because I believe that women empowerment, women employment in these sectors would be beneficial for the sector also, as well as for the women also. So this would be my second step. And my third step would be that to ensure that all the reasons that the industry saw a downfall, that they are not repeated now. So if there is any scheme of the government under which they could be given help, so I would ensure that proper help reaches to them. And these would be certain mechanism. Also, sir, we could have some collaboration with some civil society organizations, NGOs, which could help in marketing of this product outside the district, outside the state. So these would be my course of action, sir.
How about R&D?
Yes, sir. Research and development is a crucial aspect in these industries. So I would promote that also with the help of finance and the government schemes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.